I didn't plan to become a hero that day. Heroes don't wake up tired, annoyed at the sun, and already regretting the road they chose. I was just driving through a forgotten stretch of desert in Arizona, chasing silence after a life that had gotten too loud. That's when I saw her. She lay near the edge of the road, half shadowed by a twisted mesquite tree. Her dark hair spread across the sand like spilled ink. At first, I thought she was dead. People don't just lie still out here unless something has gone terribly wrong. I slowed down. I told myself I should keep driving. Everyone knows stories about the desert, how it swallows people whole. But then she moved, just barely, and that was enough to trap me in a decision I'd never escape. She was Apache. I knew that instantly, though I couldn't explain how. Maybe it was the markings on her leather bracelet, or the quiet strength in her face even while unconscious. There was blood on her temple, dried and dark, and her breathing was shallow. I knelt beside her, feeling like I was trespassing on something sacred. She tried to pull away, but her body betrayed her. She collapsed back into the sand, grimacing in pain. "Easy," I said, holding my hands up. "I'm not here to hurt you." She didn't answer. She just watched me like a cornered wolf, calculating whether I was a threat worth fighting. I gave her water. She hesitated, then drank, slow and cautious. Up close, she was stunning, not in the polished way of magazines, but raw, untamed beauty carved by sun and wind. There was something ancient in her gaze, something that made me feel small and exposed. She finally spoke, her voice low and steady despite her condition. "You should leave," I laughed nervously. "You're injured. I can't just leave you here." Her jaw tightened. "You don't understand, maybe." I didn't, but I wasn't about to walk away and let the desert finish what it started. I helped her to my truck. She resisted at first, then relented when the pain became too much. She never told me her name, not then. I felt her eyes on me, watching, measuring. When one suggested taking her to a hospital, she shook her head violently. "No hospitals. Take me back." "Back where?" I asked. She didn't answer. Instead, she pointed toward the mountains, jagged silhouettes cutting into the sky. Against my better judgment, I turned the truck around. The air changed there. Even the wind felt heavier, like it carried stories it didn't want to share. She finally told me her name, Naya. And then, just as quietly, she said, "Once you cross this line, you don't leave unless you're allowed." I thought she was joking. She wasn't smiling. I crossed the line anyway. The community was small, hidden, alive in a way cities never are. People emerged as we arrived. Elders whispered. Children stared. Naya was helped away, but before she disappeared into one of the structures, she turned back to me. "You saved me," she said. "That means something here. I didn't know it then. But that sentence was the moment my old life ended. And if this story has already pulled you in, if you feel that same tension tightening in your chest, make sure you subscribe, because what happens next is something I never thought I'd live through. They didn't force me to stay at first. That was the strange part. No ropes, no weapons, just looks. Heavy, silent looks that followed me wherever I went. I slept in my truck the first night, convinced I'd leave at sunrise. But when morning came, Naya stood outside my door. She looked different, stronger, composed, her injury hidden beneath fresh bandages. "You can't go yet," she said. "Why?" I asked. "Because you're connected now." I laughed, uneasy. "Connected to what?" She met my eyes. "To me." Days passed. Every time I tried to leave, something stopped me, a conversation with an elder. Naya became my guide, my shadow. She told me about her people, their history, their pain, and the threats they still faced, outsiders, developers, men who didn't respect boundaries. The more I learned, the more I realized her injury wasn't an accident. She had been attacked for protecting sacred land. Saving her hadn't just been an act of kindness. It had pulled me into a conflict older than I could comprehend. And then there was the way she looked at me, not soft, not romantic, intense, possessive even. Her expression hardened. "If you leave now," she said, "you dishonor what you started." "I didn't ask for this," I snapped. "Neither did I," she replied. Silence swallowed us. Finally, she spoke again. "You saved my life. In our way, that binds us. I won't let you leave until the balance is restored." Fear crept in then, real fear. But beneath it was something else. Purpose. For the first time in years, I felt like I mattered to something bigger than myself. I stayed. I helped. I listened. I fought in ways that didn't require fists. And somewhere between the dust and the firelight, between her anger and her quiet smiles, I fell in love with a woman who belonged to the land itself. When the day finally came that she stood before me and said, "You're free to go," I realized the truth. I didn't want to. She smiled, just a little. "That," she said, "is why I wouldn't let you leave. And if you've made it this far, if this story held you the way she held me, subscribe to the channel. Because some stories aren't just told, they choose you."
Subscribe to my channel.